Hello, world historians. It's week 4, and we're covering the Middle Ages. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Miss Shake, and I am super excited to introduce this topic to you. Now, when people hear the Middle Ages, they usually think of the Disney castle, perhaps knights in shining armor, and maybe even our friend Shrek here. And while all three of these are based off of the Western European Middle Ages, they're not necessarily historically accurate. So let's take a closer look at this time period, shall we? This time period, the Middle Ages, has two names. The medieval era, as seen down here, which is its Latin name, and the Dark Ages. It's called the Dark Ages because during this time period there was a lot of death and it wasn't considered as civilized as the Roman Empire. Now, as we look at this information, I want you guys to jot down any major ideas and key vocabulary. To help you out with that, I have highlighted in blue any major terms that you should probably know. Okay, so let's look at time, shall we? We learned about the fall of the Roman Empire. That was before the Middle Ages. It's called the Middle Ages because it's sandwiched between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance, and it's broken down into 3 different time periods. Now, we're just going to focus on the early Middle Ages time period, but you guys will also be learning about the high and late Middle Ages later on. Remember, during the end of the Roman Empire, it was attacked by many different Germanic tribes shown here, but the Byzantine or Eastern Roman Empire survived. So we're going to take a look, we're going to move away from the Eastern Roman Empire and take a look at the Western Roman Empire over here. Western Europe was about 3 different cultures: the Roman heritage, Catholic beliefs, and Germanic customs. People during this time period looked to Rome for inspiration. They followed Catholic Christianity and saw the Pope in Rome as their leader. And the Germanic tribes, which occupied different parts of Western Europe, brought their own polytheistic religion, language, and clan customs with them. All 3 make up Western European culture. The Roman Catholic Church was the most important institution during this time period. Why was the Catholic Church more powerful than kings? Well, kings, or secular government, non-religious government, started to lose power to these invaders, and the Roman Catholic Church became more important because people were Christian and they looked to the church and its leader, the Pope, for protection and stability in their lives. The Pope could even eventually crown emperors, as we will see. Now, the church influenced people's lives in a variety of ways. We're going to cover 3 important people who are a part of the church. The first person that everyday people in the Middle Ages would have interacted with would have been the parish priest. The parish priest was head of the village church. He gave sermons and provided medical attention and aid to the needy. You would also go to church for marriages or the birth of a baby, so it marked major life events. The second important group in the Catholic Church were missionaries. Missionaries spread religion. So missionaries spread Christianity to Germanic tribes who were largely polytheistic. The last group of people in the Roman Catholic Church were monks or nuns. Monks and nuns left everyday life to just focus on worshiping God. They usually lived together in a building called a monastery, and in addition to worshiping God, they also preserved Greek and Roman text by rewriting them into manuscripts. So much of what we know about ancient Rome comes from these manuscripts. Now, we had stated that the Pope also crowned kings emperors. The first person that was crowned emperor was a person called Charlemagne. Charlemagne was actually a king of a Germanic tribe called the Franks. He was from modern-day France, and he was inspired by Rome. So he set out to conquer Germany, France, and Italy, and ends up creating the Carolingian Empire. The Pope notices Charlemagne and ends up actually crowning him Holy Roman Emperor on Christmas Day in 800. So if we look at this picture over here, this is the Pope and he is crowning Charlemagne. After Charlemagne becomes emperor, he builds churches, schools, and roads to bring his empire together, and this sparks a Renaissance. So people look to ancient Rome and Greece as inspiration to create their art and illustrated manuscripts. Unfortunately, when Charlemagne dies, his empire gets split up into 3 sections, 1 section for each son, and they end up losing control to, you guessed it, invaders. But this time we have brand new invaders. The 3 that caused the most trouble for the Carolingian Empire are the Vikings from Scandinavia, the Angles and the Saxons from Denmark and Germany, and the Magyars from Asia. So we are going to really quickly look at each of these 3 invaders. Okay. So starting with the Vikings. Remember, the Vikings come from Scandinavia and they invade all parts of Western Europe. They also end up exploring North America. They do this by using their long ships. These ships are really good for trade along the river, exploration of new places, and raids. So a raid is when you go into a village and you take all of the things and kill a lot of people. The second invader group were the Angles and the Saxons. The Angles and the Saxons invade England. They also raid, but they write about their lifestyle in a manuscript called the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Modern day English is also based off of their language, which was Old English. The third invader group were the Magyars. The Magyars come from Asia. They settle in Central Europe and they also raid, but they are warriors who fight on horseback and use the bow and arrow. These 3 invaders cause a lot of problems for the kings who live in Western Europe and the people there. The people there need to be protected, and the kings eventually develop 2 solutions: feudalism, shown here, and the manor system. So let's take a look at the first part. Let's take a look at feudalism. Feudalism is a form of government and a society. So taking a look at the social pyramid here, the king was at the top of Western European society. Under him were nobles or powerful people with titles and land, the vassals or knights who are warriors, and the peasants. Peasants are also called serfs. You have free peasants. Serfs are peasants who are tied to the land and have to follow the noble. So to break that down, feudalism is an agreement and a form of government where the noble gives fiefs or land to the vassals in exchange for that vassal's military aid. So the vassal will swear allegiance to protect the noble and his land. The second part of the solution is the manor system. The manor system refers to the castle where the noble lived and the land outside of the castle which the peasants worked. So it's not just the castle, it was also the village, the barn, the church, and all of the farms on the noble's land. This is where most of their money, services, and food came from. So let's take a look at the manor system. Noble has the land. He gives small pieces of land to the peasants and promises protection to the peasants if they provide him with food and services. So again, feudalism is the government. The manor system is the economics system, how they got their money. I hope you enjoyed listening to that video. We have some awesome tasks for you for this week. I hope you enjoy them and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.